Hi, CG. How you doing?
Fine. It's life is lifing, as we said it with Candace. Life is lifing.
Really? Oh, well, yeah, it really is, actually. There's some really interesting things that we're going to talk about today because welcome to Bye Bitches podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Clark, and I'm sitting here in Ventura, California, and CG, my daughter.
I am in Chicago, Illinois.
Hi.
Woohoo.
So we have a podcast that, we were doing so well with this whole concept of rewatching movies, TV, and talking to people we love. And, our last podcast was with Xander Berkeley. And I think I'm going to just be honest here and a little bit transparent. We tried to, we stand in solidarity with the SAG strike, the Writers Guild strike. Some very, very important issues being addressed, and it's looking like it's not going to end anytime soon. That being said, we have been given the guidelines that I, as a SAG member, am not allowed to discuss any struck work, meaning work that was produced by companies that we're striking against, which means pretty much everything I've ever done. And even beyond that, talking about any shows that I wasn't even in. Now, I've been tracking the world of podcasting, and one podcast has been given permission. And there was an article in Variety talking about the fact that other podcasts haven't been given permission. So I am waiting to see, because we had Shane West coming on to talk about some stuff, but we don't want to cross or break any rules. So right now, instead of all of that, we are doing what even the fall schedules in all of television are doing. They've had just announced that they're doing all, of course, reality shows because they don't follow under the AMPTP. So today we're going to go back to one of the shows that literally, it's not the first reality show in history, but it is the show.
It is the best one. Let's just put that out there. It is arguably one of the best reality shows.
Right.
And one of my favorites. I've seen every season. Drum roll, please.
We are going back to the beginning, 23 years ago, and we are talking about Survivor.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was Survivor. And originally, of course, the show was called Survivor because it was the first one, but now it's known as Survivor Borneo. Borneo, however you pronounce it. Borneo. So CG.
Let's just fun fact, I'm the same age as Survivor. I'm actually older than Survivor, but still, like, we're the same age. So me and Survivor pretty much grew up.
Old school reality, because Survivor premiered on May 31st, 2000. And guess what you were doing, CG?
I don't know, crawling on my hands and knees.
Not even crawling yet.
Probably puking on you quite a bit.
You were breastfeeding. At 5 months old, you were about to turn.
Nice. Let's talk about your boobs, Mom. Great.
Yes. You were good. You did it for about 15 months, actually.
Okay. There's too many details. Moving on. Not necessary.
Well, I don't remember if I watched it. I was thinking about it. I was like trying to think if I remembered the phenomenon that this was, because I don't think I knew about it till it was probably closer to the end. But technically, I think this is my first time watching it. So let's talk about it. It was the first season of the Survivor, premiered May 31st. And it's a show that started with 16 participants tasked with being left to survive in a remote area of Borneo, Malaysia. Hosted by Jeff Probst, it consisted of 39 days with consecutive participants being removed by a majority vote. It took place on an island called Palau Tiga, about 6 miles off the coast of Borneo. So it's fascinating, of course, going down this rabbit hole. Of course, I saw a quote that somebody said that Borneo now seems dated and tame by comparison, but it truly is the biggest game changer in the past 20 years of television. And so much so that, it's not the first. Do you know what the first reality show is? Or, I think there's others, but the first one that I grew up with, it's called Candid Camera. where they put people in situations and had a hidden camera. Your version would be punked nowadays, right? So in the 70s, that was our version of a reality show. But Survivor was put on, and it's a reality competition, obviously, and it's a franchise, but it had originally started as a Swedish television show that was then adopted. Mark Burnett brought it to America. Charlie Parsons was he created something that was called Expedition Robinson.
Expedition.
There I am. See, I only have one contact in. I've been trying to work with one contact because I can read and see. But it's
wacky lady.
The interesting thing about it is why did this show resonate and create one of the biggest audiences ever? Actually, this season is the highest rated season of all of them to this date. And it was super, super profitable. It doubled what the network thought it was going to be. It was nominated for 63 Emmys. And because of that, shows like The Apprentice, Shark Tank, The Voice, it literally continued this dominance of reality. And even so much so that when the last strike happened in 2007, 2008, that's when they really started putting reality on even more. And it's going to happen again today. So I think it's interesting that we're in this time that the strike is having us pivot to reality for a rewatch to keep with the tradition of our podcast. And that nowadays everything on the actual fall schedule is going to be reality while this is happening. So this is why we're going back to old school, right, CG?
Right. So we watched the first 4 episodes of season 1, and Mom, it was your first time watching it. It was not my first time, I will say. It was very, very exciting.
Yeah. When you think about a show like this, right? What does it take to want to do something like this? And, because it was a brand new thing. They had thousands and thousands of applicants, right? And then they had to whittle it down to 16. And, in reality television, they don't just, it's still cast for the correct villains and the heroes, and it's still edited and contrived. But one of the reasons I think people really love it is that it's not necessarily just it seems like it's just ordinary people doing this, but they're really not ordinary. It takes a certain kind of person to do this.
I think what the appeal is that they seem like ordinary people, but you watch literally the entire human experience be broken down into this little island, like everyday life, like caste system, hierarchies, different personality is put into, like, you're watching the real human experience and these people deteriorating, and like what humans are really like when put in these nasty, awful conditions.
Right. And I think it's something that by society standards, we really are highly fascinated by other people's lives, deceptive lives, the realness of it, because even in our real life, daily, it's sometimes we're performing, it's like, we're always going about life, not necessarily altruistically. I don't show up to work on time, knowing my dialogue, and I'm a nice person. I mean, I try to do it altruistically with nothing in return, but I also, being a good human being and being a good employee gets me some reward, correct? And I think there's something to be said for placing people into a competitive competitive situation like this, because it really is a game, but then you're trying to win money. So there's this, okay, so let's talk about this first season, because I know that the other seasons became so much more elaborate, and there's something really pure about this season because they didn't have all the extra layers. And also because nobody had seen it before, that they weren't the first, the first day that they show up, you don't hear the word alliance until like episode.
Yeah. So I want to talk about it once we get into the episodes, but Survivor is coined And one of the members who, well, once we get into the specific episodes, we'll talk about it. He and these two women were the creators of the original alliance, first alliance ever.
Right.
Like, it's iconic. So I think, Mom, with that being said, we should start getting into the episodes.
Okay.
So just the first episode, like me watching it back, within the first few minutes, you can see that the production is just so different. Like, it's I guess maybe because it's like early 2000s, but like the challenges in the current season, and even like 5 or 6 seasons after this one, the challenges are so elaborate. And it's one thing I do want to note that is extremely different from the current seasons versus now. You see, they get on the island, they paddle, they're pulling all their supplies, they're opening all these crates. They have like cans of food, they have fishing gear already, they have like pots and pans and everything. On the current seasons, they get a bag of rice, maybe some beans, like one knife and one pan. They don't get all this fruit. They don't get all these cans of food. Like, as the seasons went on, I think they slowly realized that they could give people less and less and less. But this first season, it was like they were treated way better, like given so many more things right off the bat. That.
Yeah, they were taken on a boat or a ship of such, and they were told, you get 2 minutes to grab anything on this ship and take it with you to the island. And yeah, they were given quite a bit. But
even in these later seasons, like, there's no cans of food. Like, yeah, you grab fruit or you grab live chickens and stuff. But like this season, they had some luxuries to begin with, more than other seasons.
There's something else, and maybe somebody in the comments can let me know, but there was something that I was trying to figure out and I haven't found.
Maybe I can let you know.
Well, so I'm looking at it from a point of view of sometimes when they're on the raft or, when they're trying to fish, there's a camera on that little raft, right? Because apparently they shoot like about 40 hours for every episode or 25 hours, maybe something like that. I can't remember what the statistic was or what the numbers were. But they break it down only to 40 minutes. And of course they can edit and they can do different shots. And there's in television, they have to, they might recreate a shot or something because they know that they need to get that for reality. But I was curious, like, there were no GoPros. GoPros are, or drones. They were amazing for reality television now, the advantages that they have using those. So I'm thinking, like, there are these cameramen in these full waterproof housings on these cameras, because how else are they doing it? I'm assuming it's like one extra person, but I just would love to know what the rig was. That was just my own personal curiosity.
That I cannot answer. I don't know about that.
So yeah, so when we begin, there's 2 teams, and
it's Pagong and Toggy, the 2 tribes. They're not teams, right. Mom, they're tribes.
Okay, sorry. And the episode is called The Marooning, and I don't remember. I think I know pretty much everyone's name, but you're going to correct me. I have a feeling
probably
here. So at Pagong, when they get there, BB, who's a real estate developer, I remember that. He's, the older generation on both teams, Rudy and BB, are very vocal. And, one of the statistics was that this is the only season. Rudy was born in the 30s Rudy was born in the 20s and BB was born in the 30s.
Rudy has unfortunately passed away now, actually, which I found out a few years ago, which is very sad. But yes, I did note that this goes back to what you said about the casting. It's like every tribe has to have like a cranky old man, and like they're going to have, the underdog and whatever and all those things. But it's just like on both tribes, there's the cranky old man. And
you think it's cranky or I'm an elder?
I think BB is cranky. I think Rudy is I'm an elder, I'm a Navy SEAL, respect me. I think BB is a cranky pants.
He definitely didn't. He definitely was. It's my way or the highway.
Exactly.
I know better than you.
Rudy's kind of like, respect me and I'll tell you what to do. But if you're not going to listen to me, screw you. Like, right. BB's like, do it my way.
Right. So, and over on, at the Tagi tribe, he did try to take command, instantly aggravating people, right?
Yeah.
And
well, you're talking about Rudy.
Rudy did. Yes. Did I say BB?
You just said he tried to take command.
Oh.
You didn't specify which one.
Sorry. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But he definitely, but I noticed that. So at the Tagi tribe, Rudy and Richard Hatch, the famous Richard Hatch, were both trying to take a leadership role and get everybody. And sure enough,
it's a lot of personalities, just
a lot of voices, a lot of personalities shoot, and people are excited and there's adrenaline and it's, and I think everybody's like vying for their position and to be heard. And, It still is a competition, but they still do need to survive. But
so within the first few minutes you're talking about, so Tagi is like all yelling at each other, like just talking over each other. And Richard Hatch is like, we need to talk about what we're doing. We need to talk about this. But then over on Pagong, they're immediately getting along. They're happy. Like they have a cohesive group. But the difference between those two, Pagong, yeah, they're happy. They're laughing, but they're not working for shit. Like they're not doing anything. They're just like hanging out and happy. But then Tagi, they might not get along as well, but they were getting things done right off the bat. Like they were working. So I noticed those two complete differences between the tribes. Like Tagi definitely, it's like the harder workers, like, let's get this stuff done. Where Pagong is like, they might be friendlier and more cohesive, but they don't do anything.
Right.
Except for BB, obviously. But
yeah, it is interesting. And once again, the production is singling out that Rudy and the younger people have a huge divide, a huge generational divide. And sometimes I think like, was it that bad? Because also they're being interviewed, and the producer's asking them leading questions. Like, what do you think about this person? What do you, I found a quote that actually is an interesting thing because of what the contestants consent to all of this, what they're doing by signing a contract, allowing images of themselves that may be of an intimate, surprising, defamatory, disparaging, embarrassing, or unfavorable nature that may be factual and or fictional. Essentially, they're agreeing to be characters. They're agreeing to be there and allowing production to change it. Apparently, that was in a contract that was leaked. And CBS said that was like a copyright infringement, but I found that on the internet, so I didn't steal it or anything. But it is interesting. Mom. They sign up to know that, you CG, if you went to do Survivor, they
create a character out of me.
Right. That may be fictional. And we all know that. And I think it's transparent now that that's what's going on in reality. Would you try out for Survivor?
100%.
Because you're competitive?
100. I think I would talked about this with my friends. And the two shows that I would love to be on are Survivor and Big Brother, which, we don't need to get into Big Brother. For those of you who know it, it's another just like competition show, but they're in a house. And they're both very similar with the alliances and the challenges and everything. I think I would do really, really well on Big Brother. Because it's in a house, you have a bathroom, you have food. I think I would do I think I might make it decently far in Survivor, but I turn into a cranky mofo when I don't get sleep, when I don't get food, if I'm stuck and it's pouring. There are episodes when it's pouring rain and you're having to sleep in the rain and your fingers and you're shivering. I would get cranky.
What about no shower? We took you to the
showering's not a big
hot
deal.
spring.
I would survive without the shower.
Really? Because we went to the hot springs and you were like, I need a shower right away.
Okay, but that's like sulfur. But like I would
totally like sulfur.
I would totally do Survivor. I just think people would be like, oh my God, this girl is cranky. She's ruining our morale a little bit. Get her out of here.
Right.
After a few weeks, I would be a cranky pants.
I see you on Big Brother, but I'm not sure. I personally, because CG, when you played soccer when you were a little girl, you liked going to the practices. But when it came
to soccer have to do with Survivor?
because of competition. Is it in your soul? Like, because as when I was a kid and I played soccer and I started doing more and more competitive, I realized I didn't love the competition enough because I didn't like getting kicked in the shins and it wasn't worth it to me. And you, instead of playing the games, you just wanted to hug everybody. You were the cutest little thing. Remember you came up with the pugs,
Yep.
the name of your little soccer team.
Oh yeah.
Soccer.
So
Yeah.
yes, I'm not the most competitive person, but there have been some Survivor challenges. Like there is one where you literally have to like wrestle like a ring away from an opponent in the water. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd be so good at that. I'd be grabbing onto the ring. I'd be like, get off me.
Okay. Because you didn't grow up with any siblings. So
I can let out my primal aggression if I went on Survivor. Okay, moving on.
Okay, well, let's get, because we're trying to cover. So, let's get on to what our first immunity challenge is.
It's called Quest for Fire was the first immunity challenge. And this is where I noticed it's just, it's the first season, they're testing it out, but the production value of these challenges, so simple. And I noticed it in a lot of Survivor challenges. There's ways like you fall behind, but there you can pull ahead, these types of things. Like this one was like, you go, you're lighting fire, you fall behind, you're screwed.
And ukulele playing lovely Sonia, cancer survivor, stumbled.
She stumbles, and that's why Tommy fell behind. And it's like one little slip and they were screwed. It was the most simple challenge. You make one mistake, there's no way to like catch up. You're literally just lighting torches.
Right. And therefore, she was the first one eliminated.
Yes.
Tribal council.
I do want to ask, Mom, if you were at tribal council and on that tribe, would you have voted for Sonia?
Yes.
Me too. That's a big thing on Survivor is the first few tribal councils. It's always the weakest link has to go. We have to be strong for the challenges. Strong for the challenges is like every single season of Survivor. That's what you hear. So I too agree with Sonia going. Unfortunately, she was great and her singing was great, but for the tribe, good choice.
Right. No, it's meant to weed out who can, participate and she knew it, but she very gracious. I love when contestants graciously say goodbye. There's a few that don't. And
there's plenty, like as it gets farther and farther, people get petty, people get hurt by being blindsided and stuff.
Right. Tears. They're like, So here we go. Next episode is the generation gap, episode 2. Tagi is trying to, they have these fish traps that I think production gave them these things as just like a decoy because
they give them to them almost every season.
But they
work. They work.
Okay. Because it truly is you to find fish, you have to go where there's a reef or there's, they're definitely
I think there was definitely something up with that ocean. Like the fact that I thought, it is probably overfished.
Well, in 23, you're right. But 23 years ago, one of the things that I noticed in some of the shots, some underwater shots was that coral looked to be, when coral forests die, that's global warming and some water's heating up, but it didn't look to be super populated. I think there were small fish anyway.
So in this episode, this is where we see BB really start to lose his head. And I want to say, as a Survivor fan, making a shelter not in the forest under the canopy coverage is the dumbest thing you can do. And you see it in this episode. That woman, Gretchen, is like, I have survival skills. I said, let's make it in the canopy. It's so much better. This is what we should. And BB's like, nope, on the water, in the sand, on the water. And it's like in the middle of the hot sun, the water is coming right up to it. The dumbest thing you could do on Survivor is make your shelter on the beach.
Well, and what's interesting is because every subsequent season learned that.
Well, there's an all-star season where they didn't learn. And you're like yelling at the screen. You're like, don't you know anything? What are you doing?
Okay.
But yes, most that's when they start. Learn.
And he is a machine. He won't stop working. And poor Ramona she's been seasick. She's been ill. She can't eat food. She's definitely out of her element. I mean, you get car sick, but anybody who truly gets seasick, it's hard to shake that.
I think she's probably really dehydrated too, because it's just like they show clips of her just like heaving, which with my tummy issues, that could also be a reason I wouldn't do great on Survivor.
So Pagong, they're building this
awful shelter.
I mean, it looked really nice. And honestly, let me tell you something. As I was watching the show, because, we've been river rafting and all that. And I know that sometimes like the river guides, they like to sleep by the river because there's less mosquitoes. Mosquitoes hang out in the undercover. So I was going along with BB, not knowing. I was like, yeah.
Rookie mistake, Mom. You'll learn as we go on.
So the immunity at Pagong. Okay. Ramona's dehydrated. They're looking for fish. Oh, also on this episode, Richard reveals that he's gay. I don't remember that being, I remember that being kind of a big deal, I think. In
2000.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was somewhat, or it was newsworthy. I mean, it wasn't a big deal to I don't think a lot of, because it wasn't long ago or long before that, like Ellen had, her character had revealed she was gay on television, and it damaged her career. So there was, that's a whole other thing to unpack.
I do think that, I forgot to mention in the first episode, Richard Hatch says, I already have the $1 million check written for me. He says that right away. And he says, I know people won't like me, but I'm going to win. So Richard Hatch, apart from that, like he is just this iconic character.
Right.
Like,
and what's interesting is they shoot, and I probably could have found this, where they shoot for 39 days, right? And then they
go to Ponderosa.
And I'm wondering if they edited all the episodes and then aired it, or were they
I know this from this season. It's on the last few episodes of this season, someone wins a reward and they get to go to like a little restaurant in Borneo and watch the first episode before it's aired.
Oh, okay.
So they were editing them as they were still filming.
Right.
I only know that from watching this season.
Right.
But so the immunity challenge.
Oh, this. Okay. So, I instantly went to this. So he goes, they're simply beetle larvae. Simply. And we all know from The Lion King now, Hakuna Matata, that this is a way to, this could
protein.
Be protein. It's great protein. And it's a delicacy apparently in the there. But yes, it was pretty disgusting. And Jervis, he was having such a hard time, and his behavior bugged me. I guess that was my reaction. That's what TV is supposed to do. At some point you think like,
get over it,
move on. But my thing was they kept talking about, can I bite the head? Can I bite the head off? Can I bite the head off first? And I kept thinking like, just swallow it without chewing. And then I thought, it's alive.
Then people started swallowing it. And Jeff said, I need to watch you chew it, not swallow it.
Oh, really?
Down the line, people were just like 2 people swallowed it. He goes, no, like I need to watch you chew it. Yeah.
Well, but then
I would want to chew it. I don't want that thing writhing around in my intestines.
True.
Laying eggs inside my body.
It doesn't work that way.
You never know, Mom. Are you a beetle larvae expert? Do you know what they can and can't do?
Moving on. But no, so everyone ends up doing it. So there's a tiebreaker with Stacy and Jarvis. Jarvis? Jervis, sorry. And somehow to me, the way they edited it, it made it look like she just swallowed it. But he didn't chew it quick enough and he lost.
Yeah.
Totally fine to lose on that one, by the way. I don't know. But his squeamishness You got to be
bugged you?
poker faced. Well, you played your cards. He let everybody know how bad it was, and
Yeah.
you can't do that. You never know, because that bit him. That bit him. So what happens then?
They lose. So tribal council for Pagong for the first time.
Right. And Ramona actually got a couple votes at the tribal council, but
everyone voted for BB.
Even though I was kind of surprised, but he really is, somebody was saying, he gets us up. He actually, there's some people who have a positive outlook and say, as annoying as he is, we get a lot done.
But he was campaigning for himself to go. He was like, yeah, so should we lose? Like, should we lose the challenge? Like, we can whittle it down. Like, I'll go. Like, he was like, I'm ready to go. I'm not going to quit. But like, if it's my time, great. Like
well, and I think there's something to be said for that generation, because that's, my papa's, your papa's generation of, he'd rather say, I'm done, I'm resigning, than I don't want you guys to vote me out. I want to choose to leave. Because when he left and he got voted off, he didn't say it's been great or anything. He just turned around and walked away.
Yeah, he was ready to go.
He was like, eh. And so what's interesting is, as many skills as he had, when you weigh skills or being a team player or having teamwork, he could have done a lot of his work without the commentary. And so that I imagine that it doesn't matter how skilled you are, if you're bringing the morale down or affecting, because words and energy can affect, and it's only in the first few days, Yeah. So I imagine,
would you have gone with the vote, Mom, Ramona or BB? Who would you have voted?
I would have said Ramona, just because she wasn't doing anything.
Nah, BB's got to go. Piss me off. It would make me mad.
In episode 3, The Quest for Food, Stacy's been campaigning to get rid of Rudy, right?
So campaigning. Yes. And like hard. And like, obviously, Rudy knows too. It's like obvious.
I felt like what's interesting is, now that we're all a little bit more educated and we've watched a lot more reality TV, although I don't watch a ton, I felt like in the editing, there were some missed opportunities to show us, even though we hear that Stacy and Rudy don't get along, I never quite saw it. I didn't see the interactions. That there was just some things that I think we missed out on seeing in that instance. But Sue, she's a character.
Yep.
Yeah. She's a truck driver.
She's a Wisconsin truck driver.
She's like, Stacy wants the girls there, but I'm
not voting with her. I'm not voting with her.
Yeah, you got a lot of friends there in the Midwest that,
Oh yeah. I got Minnesota, hanging out with my friend from Minnesota tonight. Don't you know?
Are you?
I am. You betcha.
Okay.
All right.
But she's a great character. And she doesn't want to be a part of the girls, saying, let's get them out.
No.
Although, what's interesting is, technically that is some girls trying to create an alliance, but they weren't doing it with that reality competition show, experience of knowing, like, going in, I've got to create an alliance. They were just naturally kind of saying, what do you guys say? Maybe, it was like the birth of that alliance type stuff. It wasn't this knowing thing, how people start and in Survivor or Big Brother now, they go in instantly targeting people for that. And I think this show, this season, of course, taught people. It's like, of course, if you're going to be a contestant now, you watch every single episode, you study it, right?
Oh yeah. I think there's people who go on it and they're like, oh, I'm a super fan, which are people who like study it and like know each season exactly. And then there's people like me who have watched every season and enjoy it and could spit some facts for you, but aren't like super fans. Like, there's super fans who literally, before they go on the show, they sit down and they study every single move that every single big player has done.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Okay. Right, so the immunity challenge, I do want to say, my earlier point about Pagong versus Tagi. So for the immunity challenge, Pagong shows up in a little conga line, like do 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 do, and it's like BB's gone, like they're dancing, they're cohesive, they're having fun, like they're just the tribe that like has fun with each other.
Right. And also they found that mud volcano. I forgot to Google that. Like, what is that phenomenon? They were having
no idea.
So much fun. Yeah. That was like a fascinating thought. Like, why is mud coming up? And it looked pure, and it looked like, if it were in LA, they'd start charging $500 for a session.
Right. Oh, well, not the immunity challenge. Sorry, I misspoke. The reward challenge. This is the first episode we see a reward challenge where they win rewards, right? Or is that the next episode?
Well, no, because because Richard proved his worth, and
they get a spear. They get a spear.
And didn't he start using it right away? Yeah, he did. And he instantly he used a spear, and then he started catching some little stingrays. And on the other side, Pagong, we should talk about the food. Like, this is called the quest for food, this episode. It was, they were desperately trying to get food, and Pagong ends up having to eat rat. And it turns out not to be too bad, though.
No, even Ramona eats it. Like, Ramona eats the rat, and it's like,
this is amazing. Did they actually do that in the next episode? Anyway, but they end up eating that. But a mask and snorkel and a spear, big advantages to getting. So when they get to so the reward challenge was they swam to an inner tube, sunken treasure chest. That looked hard, having to drag that heavy thing. So it was like they had to figure it out. At first they try to pick it up. It's too heavy. And we find out that Jervis,
yeah, he can't swim.
He's not a good swimmer.
No, he can't swim.
Oh, at all?
No,
but he had
he cannot swim. It's not he's a good swimmer. He cannot swim. That's why they gave him.
He went out. I noticed that. So they gave him a tube.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting. If you're going to be on Survivor, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But the immunity challenge, they had to build a stretcher and race into the woods and rescue a tribe member stuck in a tree, which was kind of a funny thing. And I just kept thinking, like, she's going to hit her head or something. I just keep waiting for somebody to get hurt too. But
it happens.
So Pagong wins the immunity challenge. And for some reason, Tagi votes Stacy out.
I think it was after the
I feel like I didn't know why.
I think it's like the second challenge. They're not as concerned with strength anymore. It's more cohesiveness. And I think maybe we didn't see it as much, but she just must have been really annoying. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, that she was just annoying.
Okay. Once again, in the editing, this was confusing to me because I wasn't quite sure. And I think they even said, I've got nothing against her. I'd have to pick somebody. Right. So I found this, and I'm sure super fans of Survivor know this. Stacy sued CBS because she claimed that executive producer Mark Burnett arranged her exit and orchestrated the show's outcome. Her 14-page lawsuit alleged that two of her fellow tribesmates, Dirk and Sean, were persuaded to change their vote from Rudy to her.
Because they wanted Rudy to stay on the show.
Stacy sought restitution for lost prize money plus $75,000 for lawyer expenses and punitive damages. CBS and Burnett denied it, but Dirk supported them. They're using the last names, but Dirk and they admitted that they talked to Burnett, but that it wasn't influence, and that Burnett told them to just vote your conscience. So these contestants are talking to the producers.
Did she lose? She lost her trial.
It says that they countersued her for $5 million, and that eventually the case was settled out of court. So we don't know.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Maybe you guys could let us know. But can you imagine being on the show? You're the third person and you're convinced and you're going to sue.
I can't imagine that. That seems a little bit just like butthurt. Like, you're just butthurt that people voted you out. Like, get over it. It's a game show. Like, it's literally a game. That's whatever. But would you have voted Stacy or would you have voted Rudy?
I feel like as a first time watcher, I don't think that the narrative that was provided to me gave me, I don't see anything wrong with Stacy at all. And I didn't really, so somebody maybe it was one of those situations where it was like somebody has to go, and
it just happened to be her.
Yeah. I mean, but can you imagine being voted off and being that angry?
That seems a little excessive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but okay. She also, it's maybe, who knows how it happened. But anyway, so the last episode that we watched, episode 4, is called Too Little Too Late. And all of a sudden Ramona's feeling great at Pagong.
Yep.
And this is when they had a huge storm, right? Where it was raining.
That's what I'm saying. Their shelter got soaked. When you're under the canopy, you have so much more potential coverage from rain. Like, yeah, you're not going to be dry, but you have so much more. When it's literally just palm fronds covering you and you're out in the middle, you're screwed.
Right.
They show it, like the blankets and everything they have are just soaked. Like you could,
and also the tribal council the night before, it was one of the first, all this stuff. I love the fact that this is the first time these things are happening. And Probst is just like, we got to do this. And you think, because a lot of times in television, when you see rain, they have rain machines, and they had to through this. And he says, you guys can stay here. I found out it's about 200 yards from their camps where they do the tribal council. And he says, you can stay here if you want, but see ya, you're on your own. And all I could think was, oh my gosh, these poor people.
That's why I think I'd get cranky. Imagine being stuck in the rain all night.
So
that's why I think I would get cranky.
It's bad if it were warm, but then if it rains enough, it gets chilly.
Yeah.
Gretchen was like, I'm done. I'm moving this to the canopy. Let's go. And so they de-rigged that whole thing.
What I said earlier, Gretchen is the one who has the survival skills. And if everyone listened to her instead of BB at the beginning, they wouldn't be in that position. But whatever, they fixed it.
But life is a series of mistakes that we learn from. But I do want to mention that Greg, being the comic relief.
I was about to say, this is where we see Greg and his coconut phone.
So is this like something that's a staple in the whole series?
I mean, I don't know. There's always like a little whack job on every tribe or anything, but this is like so outlandish. Like he is just the most oddball, funny person. He's talking on the phone and he's like asking, everyone's just going along with it. They're like, yeah, Greg's on his coconut phone. Like that's just what it is.
It's and you can see how the reactions of everybody as he's committing, because we're all performing at some, like, right. What we're doing right now is a version of performance, even though we're just trying to have a real conversation. But people go out into the world every day and create some kind of performance. And he was doing that. The cameras are on him. He knows it's going to make it into the edit. And some of the reactions of the other contestants are just like deadpan. Can we get to work? Let's go.
I mean, they're just accepting it, like they're not like, Greg, come on. Like they're just accepting it. Like, and then Ramona says that night they played a game. It was like the Survivor game. And he was just asking them questions. And one of his questions was like, describe your favorite sex position as a fruit.
Lovemaking position,
yeah,
he said.
That's so he's just like the comedic relief of the tribe. And like, that is one way to establish yourself in a game like this. You say, I'm the comedic relief. I am the person who is keeping everyone's spirits up. That is going to be my job. They're not going to get rid of me. It's the same thing as being the provider or being the survival person. Like if you establish yourself as someone like that, you're going to stay for so much longer because you have a solidified purpose on the tribe. So whether he's doing it intentionally or not, he is solidifying himself to stay for longer.
Right. It's not altruistic, like I said, because Gretchen mentions, he said he's enduring himself to the clan or whatever group. And whether he knows, of course he's doing it. It's probably his real personality.
Right. But it's helping him
ingratiate himself. Yes. So at Toggy, Sean, this is when it was happening. Yeah. Sean and Dirk were trying to fish. And isn't this where Richard actually was getting the
Yeah, I was confused. This episode is where they have their little meeting with Jeff and they have the competition for the spices. Or you know, they have the meeting and they get the competition with the special rewards and everything. And this is where Richard gets his spear and starts fishing.
Well, this is when he actually starts catching.
He gets 3 stingrays.
Right. And but this is the day that Richard starts creating this actual alliance.
History. This episode is history. The literal first ever alliance ever, maybe, and first Survivor alliance ever created with Kelly Wigglesworth, Sue, I wish I knew her last name, Richard Hatch, and Rudy. But Rudy's kind of on the fence at the beginning.
I was going to say, oh, okay, because I don't know that yet.
Well, he says, he's like, I don't want none of this alliance crap, but like, if they want me to vote with them, I'll do it. But I'm not part of any of this alliance crap.
Right.
Like he says, he's like, I don't know what an alliance is. I'm not into it. But if they want me to vote with them, cool, I'll vote with them.
He and Richard have bonded. He was like, there was a little speech from Rudy that I really appreciated. He said, you know, and he makes the point that we all tend to make judgments about people the first time we meet them. And I made judgments about people the first minute I met them. And then, but this Richard guy, he surprises me. He's intelligent and, you know, and then he's like, you know, and we're friends, not in a homosexual way. He goes, don't know what my buddies are going to say about it when I get home, but doesn't matter.
Right. Which is very surprising. And, you know, because you think at first in an earlier episode, I think it's the second episode where Hatch comes out as gay. Rudy says, yeah, you know, Richard, he wanted to pull me to the side. And I knew right then he was going to tell me he was a homosexual. So I said, no, thank you, sir. I don't want to talk to you because he doesn't need to tell me that. I just want to accept him out. I just want to know him how he is. He doesn't need to tell me that.
Right. And I know that I there you go. That was good there, buddy.
I can do some accents.
I don't know. That was just Rudy, the Rudy accent. Oh my God. I did some weights before. I did some weights before we worked out. I'm hot. Or maybe it's just a hot flash. So who's the guy who says to Richard, you talk about sex a lot. He goes, this whole thing.
He's very religious.
He said and is he the virgin?
Yes, he's the virgin. He has the Bible. And he says Richard talks about sex way too much. He said
this whole thing would be perfect if Richard never spoke the way he did. And which is, you know, kind of fascinating. You know, in so many ways, I think that this first season, there's something very pure, even though it's still contrived, edited, cast, competition reality show. It's the first time they're doing it, so they have nothing to go on, and they're the OGs, and there's something very pure.
It is very pure
in the moment, even though they're still.
It's like it's not as produced. Like you just see them sitting there and talking, and it's not all this like short little things. Like it's just very like these people are on an island, and this is what they're doing. It's not like the production value isn't there yet. So it's very raw, I would say.
Right. And there's something vulnerable about it too, because you can see that they don't have anything that's influenced them by being on the subsequent seasons.
Right. There's nothing for them to base anything off of. Even the first couple seasons, you know, it's like, it's so fresh that they all do just seem very, very raw, like uncut, unedited, just like that's it.
Right. So the reward challenge is they had to make a distress signal. I thought this one was pretty creative. And I thought, you know, based on the description of it, like be big, bold, witty, be all of those things, not just build a fire. You can't just do that.
Yeah.
And it was, and then so Toggy, what did they do?
Toggy is groggy. Toggy is groggy, and then they all put on their matching raincoats. Another thing that they don't give them in later seasons, they don't get raincoats, but they were all doing like sliding on the sand in unison,
angels
with the yellow, like a big yellow alert signal thing.
And Pagong did this huge smiley face, which was a great idea. I thought that was kind of witty because clearly, but it needed, they
needed the color.
They needed one more element of something.
I thought both were very visible.
Right. But they got to pick one.
Right.
So in that, but then in the immunity challenge, that relay race, Jervis,
he got beat. He was tired.
Yeah. And that, I wonder if that comes from, I mean, anybody knows that if you're fasting, it's hard to work out.
I mean, all of these people are obviously not exerting their like full energy, and it could be because Toggy had 3 stingrays, and I don't know how much meat is on those things, but maybe they got more protein 2 days before than the tribe that was eating rats,
Right. Also, it's 100 degrees. They mentioned, so it's humid and all that. So but it was a pretty, that
was the first challenge that resembled any like future challenges, like the relay race, the multiple parts to it, people doing different things, like places where you can fall behind and catch up. Like it's a lot more enticing. Like people fall behind. It can go back and forth. It's anyone's game. Like it represents, that was the first challenge that shows a lot of like what it's like in the later seasons.
And then Ramona's been also let's say Toggy ends up winning. So because they were able to dig that chest out of the,
Rudy and Richard.
Rudy and Richard dug that chest out. So they won. But at the tribal council, it was, even though Ramona was feeling good, she was
too little too late, as the name of the episode goes.
Yeah. And this is only like 6 or 7 days into it.
It's about 9 or 10.
Okay.
I think 9 or 10 ish, because I think it's every 3 days actually. So maybe it's more like 12.
So they voted Ramona out, and that's our first 4 episodes
Mom,
of Survivor.
Would you have voted Ramona? Are you with the majority?
I think so. Obvious. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it comes down to now that too little too late, that, if you weigh, she hasn't been able to show everybody, although I think she performed just fine on all the challenges. But if she was that bad for the first 9 days, it could happen again.
Yeah.
So, you can only go by, it's a show me world. So you can only go by what's been shown.
I think it was another one of those, like, well, someone has to go. Like, even though Ramona is like getting along with all of us now, someone still has to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably would have voted for Ramona too.
So yeah, this show, talk about making money. It started at, I think it premiered at something like 16 million viewers, and every episode just kept increasing. And it averaged over its season to 28 million viewers. And right now, some shows are lucky to get a couple million because there's so much content out there. And so, I mean, we're not at the finale yet, but I think that's one of the things that this season was just a phenomenon, ratings wise, and how much people tuned into it and why they tuned into it. And I think it's a really, really interesting thing how it's like there's no calendars, there's no headlines, and the days are just measured by the sun going up and down. And it just reflects so much of our world, in that even though people are unbearable sometimes, or the characters are unbearable, we know people like
that's what I said earlier. Like, it just takes everyday life, and it's just watching life. Honestly.
Yeah, deeply compelling because we are preoccupied with other people's lives.
Yeah.
And I think they found this formula, and this wasn't Mark Burnett's first show. He'd done something called Eco Challenge, but it's anything that's lasted 23 years consistently. And for the first 20 years, it was in the top 10, I think, or the top 20. So it's consistent. And so I guess today we can celebrate the advent of what became, this leading to all the other competition shows, and everybody, like, just like Porky's, everyone wanted to do more sexploitation films. This was so successful, everybody started doing reality. And it's yeah. So I'm glad we did this. This is how we have to pivot, for now, we'll see. And instead of bonus content, guys, head over to our Patreon, where we are going to be watching Big Brother each week. We're going to be watching Big Brother, and we'll do a little small recap in our bonus content. I didn't say instead of bonus content about this, but instead of Survivor bonus content, we are watching Big Brother on our Patreon, and we are watching it
the live eviction every Thursday night. Mom, this podcast has turned into just an excuse to watch two of my favorite shows. So I just want to say, guys,
thank you.
We're in my house now. We're in my zone now. We're watching my stuff.
I know some people I don't know, right? Well, it'll be interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to be at every one of those live Zooms. Depends on where I am in the country, because I'll be traveling. But it'll be interesting to do this. We are excited to see all you over on Patreon. So yeah. And let's see. That is starting on August 2nd. August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Right, on Patreon, the Zoom. Yes. And okay, very well. We're good.
So
We're good.
Next episode, we'll be doing episodes 5 through 8 of Survivor. So if you want to watch them with us, rewatch season 1 and do catch-ups with us, do that. Next episode will be episodes 5 through 8 of Survivor season 1 Borneo.
Yep.
And with that being said,
what are we doing? Wait. They can always find us.
I was gonna say it. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at CGMIR, and you can follow my mom on TikTok and Instagram at the Melinda Clark. Also follow Bye Bitches Podcast on Instagram, where we post, cute little claps of the podcast and everything.
Oh God. And please go check us out over on Patreon. That's how we continue this podcast.
If you want to hop on Zoom with us,
support.
Yeah, go to Patreon and remember to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment about how hilarious we are or something.
I don't think that's funny.
I think I'm funny. You might not be funny. I think I'm funny.
I think I'm going to start calling you Rudy as your nickname.
Why?
Because you did a really good Rudy.
I think I do a better Sue.
Oh, okay. Okay, there.
The girls want me to vote with them, but I don't think I'm gonna do it.
Okay. I gotcha there.
All right. Yeah. And with that being said,
bye.
Bye, bitches.